second stage, Will Wheaton.
Thank you very much. Merci. All right, good morning. Good morning. Bonjour. Okay, that's all the French I know. I had this great idea last night to use Google Translate to write and learn this thing where I would say to you in French, the language of your people, that I do not speak or understand French, but out of respect for your culture, I would make every effort to present to you a hovercraft full of eels. And then I would tell you the story of how one time I put a tiger in my trousers and they caught on fire, which was very fun for me, and it was a beautiful day. I sat there, and the joke, for those of you who don't know it now, the joke would have been that although I used Google Translate, I still was unable to successfully communicate to you in French. But speaking as someone who grew up in Southern California, where the only non-English language I heard is Spanish and occasionally Mandarin Chinese, French is very hard to speak. And then I thought, maybe this won't be funny. Maybe we'll be like insulting an entire province and an entire culture. And while I'm not really afraid of insulting cultures, I'd rather not do it when I can be detained by immigration and have my So I apologize for being monolingual, and I appreciate your kind indulgence. I want to tell you a little bit about gaming and tabletop, because you were just watching that as you were all coming into the theater and taking your seats. And I wanted to tell you why I made that show. I'm a nerd. I have been... See, this is the thing that's great about conventions. This is a place where we get to go and we get to love that thing that we love. And it doesn't matter what it could be. It can be video games, it can be Firefly, it can be Star Trek, it can be Buffy, it can be Game of Thrones, it can be any anime, it can be anything at all. But we come to a place where we love a thing so much and so enthusiastically, and we spend a weekend surrounded by people who love it as much as we do, the same way that we do. And I love that, man. Like, where else do you go in the world where you go, I'm a nerd, and people go, me too! That's amazing. And I absolutely love it. I think it was my friend Chris Hardwick who said, being a nerd is not really about the thing you love. It's about how you love it. And my God, Montreal, you guys are some sexy nerds. I feel like at home in this convention. I've been going to conventions since I was able to convince my parents that it made complete sense to drop me off at a hotel for an entire day with $15 in my pocket, and I'd be great. I'd just use a payphone. Kids ask your parents to call them to come pick me up when the day was over. I think I was 10 or 11 the first time I did that. It was a horror convention. I met Jules Shepard. Kids, ask your parents. It was awesome. So the reason that I make tabletop is because I am a nerd. And of all the things that make me a nerd, nothing is more important to me and nothing brings me more joy than gaming. When I was 12, younger than that, sorry, gotta do the math, 82, 10. When I was 10 years old, my great aunt gave me the original Dungeons & Dragons red box set for Christmas. And by the way, if you can get your hands on a copy of it, they're pretty easy to find used. it completely holds up. It's really fun to play that system. And parents, if you're looking to teach your kids how to play role-playing games, that is an absolutely fantastic place to start. Also, if you're looking to teach your children about the realities of the impermanence of life and mortality, have them play a magic user in that edition. Let them cast their one spell, probably light, and then die in the first encounter in the Caves of Chaos. I was disappointed when I got that, because I was like, what is this? This isn't a game, this is a book. You're cheating. This is like you gave me homework. This is bullshit. My cousins all got video games, my brother got Lego, and I was like, what? My great aunt said, look, this is a game about using your imagination, and you have a wonderful imagination, and I know how you like to make up stories, and I know how much you like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and she said, I heard that this is great for kids like that, and I was like, whatever, great aunt. I guess I'll color in these dice, because that's kind of a thing to do. I fell in love with that almost immediately, because it was a game that rewarded the things that I was good at. I was an awkward kid. I'm an awkward adult. Dexterity is my dump stat. and I've been trying to I've been trying to level strength recently, but I'm 40 and that's hard. So I played, I started reading it, and I realized that this was the thing where I created worlds with my imagination. I created people and I gave them life, and I created puzzles and I could challenge my friends with them, and I could get out of the sort of the crucible of the playground of elementary school, where the world was divided into cool kids and everybody else, and I was everybody else. And like a good day in elementary school was like, oh, please don't let Kent Purser and the cool kids see me. If they just don't see me, it's going to be a good day. Punch, someone saw me, it's a bad day. And I fell in love with it, and it was a thing that was made for people like me. I played D&D all through the rest of my childhood, and then in high school, I went to public high school for the first time in my life, and it was right after Stand By Me. It was really, really popular, and I was awkward and nerdy and shy and afraid of people, and because of that, I just sort of didn't talk to people because I was afraid of them. And the kids at this high school decided that I was doing that because I thought I was better than them, which was I was the platonic ideal of I don't think I'm better than you. And they were terrible to me. It was the worst year of my life, was being in public high school. But I met some guys who ended up becoming my group of friends, and now, over 20 years later, we're still friends. And it is gaming that is the foundation of and mortar which holds together the bonds of our friendship. And they taught me how to play board games. And we started playing games like Warhammer 40,000 and Illuminati and Car Wars and Diplomacy. And yeah, it was great. It was really, really fun. And we started going to gaming conventions, and I found these people who loved the things that I love, and loved them the way that I loved them. And then I met these hyper-competitive, power gamer dickheads. And I didn't want to be like them, I didn't want to play games with them. But that was this common thread that connects 40-year-old me to 10-year-old me. It's gaming, it goes straight through all of my life. And all of the other things that I love, the science fiction and fantasy and comic books, are they kind of hang off of the load-bearing pillar of gaming in my life. So when Felicia Day asked me if I wanted to do a show on Geek and Sundry, I said, yeah, of course. Everything you do is amazing, and that sounds like great fun. We'll work together for a while. And she said, I said, well, what do you have in mind? And she said, well, I think, how about something with gaming? Because that's a thing that you just will not ever shut up about. And I said, great, what do you want to do? And she said, how about a show where you review games? And And I said, I don't know, I don't want to do a thing where I'm just kind of like sitting there talking. I kind of hate the sound of my own voice. I'd rather do something that's more like, what if we like played games? And that was like, there's this exhibit at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., where they teach you about Marie Curie and this, like sort of the discovery and understanding of radiation. And they show this box. And it's this box where they were studying the effects of radioactive isotopes, and they were learning that if you slid control rods into this box, it would slow down a nuclear reaction. And unfortunately, they didn't know that radiation went through concrete, so they all got radiation poisoning and they died. But they discovered a lot of really important things in doing that. So at the Smithsonian, they had this really cool, like hands-on exhibit where there are all these steel ball bearings, and they're in a box. And the bottom of the box was I forget exactly what happened, but you would put you would drop one ball in, and it would go down and it would hit the other balls, and then they would just go crazy with kinetic energy bouncing all over the place. And then you could slide these magnetic rods in, and the balls would cling to the rods like atoms would cling to control rods in a nuclear reaction, and it would slow the reaction down. It was this great tactile way to illustrate how science works, which was super, super cool. When I said, what if we played games? It was like I took those control rods out and I threw them away and I set them on fire and I buried them in the ground, and I scooped up that piece of ground and I put it on a rocket ship and I launched that rocket ship into the sun so that the reaction would never be able to slow down. And I said, we're gonna play games, and we're gonna get our friends who are famous to come in and play the games with us, and it'll be like celebrity poker, but without poker. It'll be with nerdy board games that I love so much, and then it will also be like that show Jon Favreau did called Dinner for Five, where we'll sit around and we'll talk about how we love to play games, we'll talk about work, and people who don't like to play games will come and watch it because they're fans of the people who are on the show, and the people who are fans of those people on the show will come watch the show, and then they'll want to play games, and they'll tell their friends to play games, and we'll make more gamers. And oh my god, people who are in mixed relationships, like I am with my wife, where I'm a gamer and she's not a gamer, like I could show her tabletop, and then she would be like, oh my god, you guys are having so much fun, we should all play games together. This is gonna be amazing. Exactly how it happened. The entire concept of the show came together in just a few minutes. And then I thought, this is such an obvious idea. Someone's done this show already. Recall the control rod, stop the rocket ship. Sorry, well, the rocket ship's already on its way into the sun. But nobody had done it before. And we actually spent more time, we came up with the concept for the show. And then I was like, here's a list of games I love, these are what we're playing. And then we actually spent more time trying to name the show than we did conceiving of the show. And I'm incredibly happy and incredibly proud to say that Tabletop is about halfway through its first season. And my ulterior motive with that show, which is to create more gamers, and to show the world that gamers are not the antisocial weirdos who can't make eye contact that are portrayed in popular media, has been a catastrophic success. We, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I'm so proud of it. I talk to people every day who tell me that they started watching Tabletop, and they watch it with their friends, they watch it with their family. Families were inspired to start a family game night. A guy emailed me and he said that for years, he has teenagers, and for years his kids, the family would get together for dinner. Then after dinner, the kids would go like to World of Warcraft and Minecraft, and his wife would go to like Dancing with the Stars craft, and he would sit around with like, where the hell's my family craft? And it was like, and it kind of sucked for him. But they started watching Tabletop, and they saw us having fun when we played these games. And the kids said to him, let's do that. Let's have a family game night. And he said, now, instead of everyone going off to their own things at the end after dinner, we play a board game. And he said it has brought our family really close together. And I have successfully raised 2 kids, and I survived them being teenagers, and I got them into college, and I got them out into the world, and they are now successful adults. And being a parent of a teenager is it's the hardest thing in the world. It's like, I think there's an evolutionary thing to it, right? Like I read on Reddit about a year ago that there's this theory that like babies and puppies and like young, like small animals are cute. So that will be like, oh, you're so cute, let me not kill you. Let me stop that thing from eating you because you're so cute. But I think the converse of that is that teenagers are sons of bitches. So that at that time that we need to kick them out of the house and into the world, we're like, our natural instinct is, no, my babies, I don't want you to go. But then they're so awful. Like, where's the dinner I'm gonna complain about? Why isn't it ready? That I'm like, hey, you know where the dinner is? Out of my house. So, having successfully done that, thank you. I feel really good that I helped make a thing that brings families together, especially that gives teenagers and their parents a thing to have in common. I've talked to game distributors who have told me that they have sold out at the distributor level. Games that we have featured on Tabletop have gone out of print because they've been on Tabletop. I meet people who own game stores and they tell me that they really, really want to know what's coming up in 2 to 4 weeks so that they can stock the games because they sell out. I meet people who never played games before and now they love Small World and Settlers and Ticket to Ride. People see my wife and they're like, don't knock the trains off the table. And it's just great, and I'm really proud of it, and I feel really good about it. And it actually, like, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world when I came into this building today, and I was like, that sounds like my show. It is my show. So it was cool. So if you watch Tabletop, and especially if you subscribe to our channel and you like our videos, because YouTube really cares about that, and we really want a second season, thank you. Thank you for your support. And if you don't do that, why the fuck not, you guys? Come on. You are killing me. Let me look and see what time it is. Okay, I've used up about a half an hour. That went by quick. Wow. You talk a lot, Wheaton. So I guess I should probably stop talking about what I want to talk about and find out what you want to talk about by opening up the floor to questions. Where is that happening? It's happening over there? Okay, great. Let's do that.
Hello, Will. My question is, I guess, and you in Stand By Me, what was it like to work with Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, and River Phoenix?
I believe that Stand By Me is as successful a film as it is, and I believe that it is as like really connects to people no matter what. It's been nearly 30 years since we made the movie, and people who are seeing it for the first time tell us that they can relate to it for one reason or another. Rob Reiner tells a story about a guy telling him in around 1987, so I just saw your movie Stand By Me, and it's sort of like, and he said, he said, I feel like you did a movie about my childhood. And Rob said, oh, did you grow up in the woods? And the guy was like, no, I grew up in Manhattan. But the stories, the relationships, the friendships, and the, like all of that was my group of friends. And I think one of the reasons that the film resonates with people so strongly is that Rob cast 4 kids who were essentially those characters that we played. Like, I was shy and nerdy and awkward and overly sensitive and just struggling to have a connection with anything. And River was this incredibly cool guy who was very hard to understand, but like everybody kind of like wanted to be like him. And Corey was a nightmare. And it's sad. I mean, I asked Rob once, like, why did you cast him? He's such a nightmare. And Rob said he was the only actor that he ever saw who had as much anger in him as Teddy had. And, you know, Corey's talked about this before. He was just sort of like abandoned by his parents to go fend for himself, and he had a really hard time with it. And you know, his struggles in life have been very public, and he's been very open about them. And I saw him about a year ago, and he's doing his best, you know, to like kind of get it all back together. And if you look at Jerry, like, you know, he's super funny, and if you look at the end of that movie, it's weird. Like at the end of the movie, Gordy ends up being a writer. I'm a writer when I'm not an actor. Chris ends up dying way too young. River died way too young. Teddy ends up working odd jobs around Castle Rock and started being in and out of jail. And Corey really struggled with addiction his entire to this day. And Vern like finds a penny on the street. He's like, "Yay, a penny! I win." He married Rebecca Romaine. We're all those kids. I just saw them. We all got together. I guess last year, to do an interview about Stand By Me, and it was me and Rob and Corey and Jerry and Richard Dreyfuss, and it was the first time since River died that I really missed him. That I really felt like, my God, he's gone, and it was really hard. And it was really sad. I guess it was a thing that I just hadn't spent a lot of time kind of thinking about. While we were there, I went up to Jerry. Jerry comes walking in, and Jerry's tall and he's beautiful. And he comes walking in, and he's just like, he's the same kid. He's the same now as he was when he was 11, you know. And he's just like making jokes and smiling at everybody. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, I really loved you in Piranha." And he looks at me, and I can tell immediately that he doesn't know that I'm the guy he worked in the movie with, because I look very different. And he starts to talk to me like oh, you're a fan of my work, not the person I worked with 30 years ago. And I said, "I really liked you in Stand By Me." And he goes, "Oh, thanks a lot, man." And I said, "By the way, I was Gordy in Stand By Me." And I was like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. So then we talked, right? And the whole time we're talking, my brain is like, he's married to Rebecca Romaine. And I'm like, "Shut up, brain. I need you to not distract me." No, he's married to Rebecca Romaine. There is a time, more than once in his life, Rebecca Romaine has been like, "Come and have sex with me." And he said, I just, you know, every time I talk to Jerry, that's what my brain does. Because apparently in my brain, I'm still 12. Thanks for the question.
Thanks a lot.
Your wife's no slouch herself.
Hi, just first off, I want to say congrats on raising so much money with the sale of the ping pong ball and that on eBay from your garage.
You know, if you had told me ever that I would auction off a DVD, for those of you who don't know, I was cleaning out my garage. It's called Operation Get All the Bullshit Out of the Garage. Because I'm a home brewer, and I want to make a brewery in my garage, and I have a lot of junk in my garage, and I'm just like cleaning it out, and it is a lengthy process because I've held on to things from my acting career that mean something to me. And as I'm cleaning out the garage a few days ago, I come across a DVD of Stand By Me, and so I put a picture of it on Twitter, and then people said, "Oh, you should auction that for charity." And my wife and I raise money for our local Humane Society. And we're about to participate in a charity fundraising event for the passing of the Humane Society. Thank you. So I thought, sure, I'll put it up for auction on eBay, and then I'll donate whatever I get to it. And like, gosh, I mean, this is kind of cool. I'm gonna autograph it. It'll probably go for like a couple $100. Inside of like an hour, the thing's been bid up to like $600 or something crazy like that. Well, I had also found this dented ping pong ball in my garage. And so the first picture I put on Twitter said something like, you know, sometimes I find awesome things when I'm cleaning out my garage. And then I put up the picture of the ping pong ball, and I said, and then of course I find things like this in the garage. And then all these people were like, "You should auction off the dented ping pong ball." So, I did. And I wish I had data on my phone because I would read you the product description I wrote for the ping pong ball, which, I'm not going to lie to you, Marge, is one of the funniest things I've ever written in my life. I thought, this is so stupid. This ping pong ball will auction off for like someone's going to pay $100 for this stupid ping pong ball. But that's fine because the money's going to a charity or something like that. The ping pong ball was auctioned off for $1,135. Ann and I are trying very hard to raise $15,000 for the Humane Society. At this, thanks. And I checked yesterday, and direct donations to the Humane Society through our fundraising page were up to about $7,400 or something like that. But I know it's awesome. But I am adding $1,100 from the ping pong ball, and then the DVD ended up selling for $1,000.
Congrats.
So yeah, thanks. So it's $2,100 on top of that from stuff I found in my garage, one of which is a crappy ping pong ball, which I think is sort of like what makes the internet awesome.
Anyway, the question that I had is,
yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I wasting your time, sir?
I'm just wondering if you can, say anything about it to the effect or not, but just wondering, ever since I saw the episode of Big Bang where you actually gave the Wesley Crusher figure to James Parsons, Sheldon, and Brent Spiner ripped it open, is that all a big setup for next season to get you back on the list where you set it up?
I really hope so. I don't know what they're going to do. I think that it would be great if Evil Will Wheaton was setting up this long game of like super ultimate evil. I think that would be just fantastic. Bill Prady said to me after we finished that episode, I said, so what happens next? And he said, I think Will Wheaton is going to find out that the hell he thought he was in as Sheldon's enemy is nothing like the hell he's going to be in as Sheldon's friend. So, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do or if they're going to do anything, but I really, really hope that they do, and I hope that it's awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Have
you
a great
very
day.
much. I want to tell you a quick story about the Big Bang Theory because it's relevant to Canada, which, spoiler alert, is where we are. I spent much of the last 2 years in Vancouver working on a show called Eureka. Thank you. I'm really proud of the show. I'm really proud of the work that I did. I am still gutted that the show was canceled. I think it was stupid that it was canceled, and I absolutely hate that the Sci-Fi Channel runs wrestling and reality shows instead of science fiction programs. So I'm up in Vancouver, and I thought I was going to be there for 24 hours, and the production schedule got changed around, and I was going to end up being there for 4 days. And I had just brought enough things for 24 hours, so I had to go get some clothes. So I went out into Canada, and you know the one. And I got some clothes. I took them back to my apartment, and they didn't fit. Because seriously, like, why can't America be on the metric system like the rest of the civilized world? Honestly. Oh no, I know why. It's because our motto in the United States is because we're America. Fuck you. My pants don't fit. I have to take them back to the Hudson Bay Company, where I bought them. I'm on my way back, and I walk into, it's really cold in Vancouver.
No, it's not. It isn't.
It's like 5, you guys. From Southern California. We do not go outside when it is cloudy because we're afraid. look, you choose to live here. Anyway, Montreal. I will go back to Los Angeles, where the Stanley Cup lives. That kind of booing, it sounds like some people came up from Toronto.
Yeah!
You remember what the Stanley Cup is, right? Ask your parents. 1993 was so very long ago, wasn't it? So, I was afraid to insult you with your language, so I'll insult you with hockey instead, because that makes sense. I am a legitimate hockey fan. I've been a Los Angeles Kings fan since the early 80s. I grew up watching the Triple Crown line. I played hockey in high school. I was a goaltender, and I love it. It is my absolute favorite sport in the entire world. I want to tell you, you have no idea how lucky you are that in your country you can turn on the television and watch hockey with intelligent commentators. Also, Don Cherry is there, and actually like watch it in a smart way. The way it is aired in America is disgraceful. So I walk into, it's very cold, it's 5. So I'm on my way back to the Hudson Bay Company, and I go through a Sears, and the alarm goes off when I walk in. Not only is not only are the pants too small, they have forgotten to take the alarm thing off of them. So now I look like a filthy thief. Everybody looks at me and I'm like, no, I have the receipt and I have the thing and it's not my fault. And now all these people are looking at me like really weird, okay? So the security guy comes over and I'm like, look, he goes, oh, okay. So I walk through Sears. Everywhere I go in Sears, people are looking at me. Even people who did not see me with my pants and the alarm. And I start to get really self-conscious and I'm like, did I? I go out the door, the alarm goes off again, right? And I'm like, no, look, receipt and pants, and I just did this, like, back there. So now I walk across the street to the Hudson Bay Company. People are still looking at me really weird. People who were not even in Sears. And I think, like, am I like Canada's Most Wanted now? Because I went to the thing, I go back into the Hudson Bay Company, and I go to return the thing, and the lady there is like, so, why do you want to return these? And what she does not say is, you don't have to tell me it's because you're a meth head and you're going to buy drugs, because I can tell just by looking at you. And I'm like, no, look, the receipt and the pants, and I give it to her, and she's like looking at me really weird, right? And then as I walk out, someone comes up to me and says, hey, I saw you on The Big Bang Theory last night. You were really funny. And I realized that the reason everyone's been looking at me since I walked out of my hotel is not because they think I stole pants. It's because I was on television last night and I'm famous. But because it's Canada, everybody's too polite to come up and say, hey, I'm talking to you. No, you would rather just stare at me and make me paranoid. Yes, thank you. Question, please. Sir or madam, as the case might be.
Madam.
Yes.
The movie I'd actually like to ask about is a little known one most people haven't watched, from the early 90s, Toy Soldiers. I was just wondering if you have any good stories about it, or even any stories about Jerry Orbach.
Jerry Orbach and I never worked together. We were never in the same scene together. But I loved that movie. It was really fun. We shot it in Virginia, and we were all like 18 to 20 years old, and it was kind of like, if Stand By Me was sort of like sleepaway camp, then Toy Soldiers was sort of like the first year of college. And we had so much fun working on that movie. We were very close to Washington, D.C., so we drove to Washington, D.C. every weekend to go and like see the museums and go up to, back then, forever ago, the United States government worked. So it was sort of like you would go there and feel pride instead of the thing we feel now. And it was great, and I'm really proud of that movie. My biggest concern with that movie, Dan Petrie, the director, asked me if I would do an accent for the film. And I said, well, maybe you could have asked me, with more time than the day production starts, so I can work on it, like with a coach or something. And he said, no, he said, you can do it. I totally believe you can do it. And I said, all right, I just don't want to sound like Corey Feldman in Lost Boys. And he said, I'm not going to let you sound like Corey Feldman in Lost Boys. Trust me. I was like, okay. The movie comes out. I sound like Corey Feldman in Lost Boys. I mean, it's awful. And I wear a dangly Ankh earring. That's also awful. And I spend a lot of time in my underwear, which today would be awful, but back then, not bad. And it was great. I mean, I'm glad that people enjoy it. I have my DVR set up to record anything that my name is on, because I kind of hope that it'll catch things that are really old that I just don't have anymore, so I can capture them and save them. And it found Toy Soldiers dubbed into Spanish. And I don't know what it is, man. Whenever I am dubbed into a foreign language, I sound like an 8-year-old girl. It does not matter. Pick a language. 8-year-old girl. That's the end of my story about Toy Soldiers.
Thank you. And just need to take it tomorrow.
Hi. I'm a fan of your work on tabletop.
Thank you.
And I was just wondering what other board games first got you into board gaming?
It was American-style war games that were my first introduction to it. And I mean, these days I'm not crazy about minis games, but in the late 80s and early 90s, I loved minis games. When I worked on Star Trek, I did not have our game console in my dressing room like everyone does today. I didn't have television or anything like that. I had books. And I had my little tackle box full of Citadel miniatures paints, and I would sit in my room between scenes, and I would just paint minis, because it was a great way for me to just distract myself and do something that I liked without losing the emotional thread of the scene. Like if I was reading, then I would sort of get pulled into that world, or if I was doing something with a role-playing game, I get pulled into that world. But this way I could stay connected to the scene, but I had this other thing to do. And even now, even though I don't really play those games anymore, when I need to unwind, and when I just like when I'm writing, when I'm like in head down finish mode, and I have to stop because I run out of creative energy, but then I'm also just so exhausted that I can't focus enough to play a game or read a book or whatever, and I don't really like TV very much. I'll pull out minis and just keep and paint them. And I'm still terrible, I'm not very good at it. But it's a really fun, it's a wonderful hobby.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so I've been wondering this for a while. So what's the complete story behind Sparks McGee?
Dude, Sparks McGee is the best non-canonical character in the history of Star Trek. I love Sparks McGee, and so does she. Raise your hand if you know who Sparks McGee is. Don't lie. Excellent. That's why Sparks McGee is awesome. Hardly anyone knows who he is. All right, everybody, get ready to learn about the legend of Sparks McGee. When I was a kid on Star Trek, people complained about that, and they were loud about it, and they were mean, and they were cruel, and they were hurtful, and they were terrible to me personally, because apparently the kind of person who will invest the time and energy necessary to write a 4,000-word post on Usenet is also the kind of person who is incapable of making the connection between the 14-year-old not having any say in what his dialogue is and how the dialogue is written. So naturally, it makes complete sense to just attack Will Wheaton, 14-year-old nerd, because you don't like the way Wesley Crusher, 14-year-old, Space Nerd is written. I carried that around for years. It was very upsetting to me. It took me a very, very, very long time to get over it. And when I started my blog in 2001, I was, and it was a thing that I talked about, and someone emailed me a thing and said, you know, I think Wesley would have been a lot more like sympathetic to the audience if he had an alter ego called Sparks McGee. And Sparks McGee like wears a cowboy hat and he drives a Trans Am. And when Picard's like, hey, plot a course for blah, 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 then Sparks goes, I got a course you can plot. And then he jumps into his Trans Am and he does a burnout and drives away. And then Picard looks at Riker and he says, I wish I was more like that Sparks McGee. And Riker goes, he is a real rebel. I posted this on my blog. I reposted this on my blog recently because someone pointed it out to me. And I said, you know what I want to see at conventions, everybody? Sparks McGee cosplay. Make it happen, Internet. The Internet made it happen. The very next convention I was at, a girl came up in Wesley Crusher's rainbow spacesuit with the cowboy hat and a fake tattoo of like the Enterprise and another tattoo here that says, suck it, Picard. And it started this thing. There's a Tumblr called Sparks McGee Adventures. I don't run it. It's these two wonderful girls. I met them when I was in Australia earlier this year. And people make Sparks McGee fanfic. They capture images of me on Star Trek, and then they Photoshop on cowboy hats and Trans Ams in the background, and then describe Sparks McGee. And basically what Sparks McGee does is he sort of like goes around and he tells off Picard and he like gets drunk and like sleeps with people and is just like he's just I'm sorry? He gets all the ladies. Seriously, Captain Kirk comes forward in time and he's like, Sparks McGee, I need you to tell me how to get the ladies. I love Sparks McGee. He's the best. And you want to go to sparksmcgeeadventures.tumblr.com. And then while you're on Tumblr, I forget the name of the Tumblr, but this guy writes these comic strips, and it's called Wesley Crusher, Real Teenager. And it's instead of Wesley being like, gee whiz, Captain, what can I do for you? Wesley's like, fine. It's really, really funny. Anyway, that is the story of Sparks McGee.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hi, I just wanted to say I love tabletops.
Thank you.
I have Fiasco in my hand.
Awesome.
I'm hoping maybe you'll get a chance to sign it for me.
Sure.
One of the things I wanted to say is I loved you on Star Trek. I loved the last episode you were in. I was always hoping that you'd be able to come back in that other dimensional thing that you were doing in that episode. But anyways.
It turns out that once the Traveler got Wesley away from the Enterprise, he drives around the galaxy in a windowless white van. It's not as awesome as everyone thought it was going to be.
The main thing I wanted to say was, with tabletop, my favorite game of all time is a game called Illuminati.
Yes, of course, I love Illuminati.
Oh, I was just wondering, is there any chance that you'll be having it on tabletops at any time?
I don't think so. Whenever we've done games that have cards in them, it is hell on our editors. They have to scan every card in the game, and explaining the intricacies of Illuminati in the tabletop setup, I think would just be really, really hard. It is one of my favorites ever, but I just don't think that it would work well on our show. There's games that I love, like Seven Wonders and Dominion and Magic the Gathering, and they just won't work on tabletop because they're card games, and a lot of what makes those games great is what happens in your head. Steve Jackson Games puts out a game I love called Revolution. Yeah. And what makes Revolution great is figuring out, like, it's the I know that you know that I know that you know metric, right? That like makes poker so exciting. But unless we have like whole card cameras and like double the budget and double the production time, we're not going to be able to do any of those games.
Well, now that I know that you're an Illuminati fan, you've even gone higher up in my book.
Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Hi.
Hi.
First, I have to confess, I first watched Star Trek when I was 18, and I became a Trekkie by the power of Picard, but you were my eye candy.
I think that you're not alone in this room.
I'm sure.
Am I right, fellas, or what?
So not to make you paranoid, if I look a bit intensely, I still have a little crush. But it's done, you know, but... So my question is, as playing Wesley, you had like simile tablets, you know, and so first time you had an iPad, did you have like flashback of the tablet Star Trek? How did it feel?
When I got I got my first Android smartphone, I downloaded an app for it called Tricorder, and it's rad. It has an LCARS interface and real data sensors. It uses the accelerometer and the microphone, and then it queries the the GOES solar satellite, and you can put you can tap it and it does different things and it makes all the great sound effects. And I absolutely love it. I will tell you one of my favorite stories ever. I was talking to Jonathan Frakes, and he texted me and he asked me if I could help fix his computer. And I texted him back and I said, "Did you try turning it off and back on again?" And then we went back and forth trying to fix his computer. And I said, "Yeah, okay, so this is what you do." And I talked him through fixing it, and I said, "It turns out that I have more in common with Wesley Crusher than just his fabulous hair." And he texts back to me, "I'm trying to give her more power, Captain, but I'm giving it all she's got." And I said, I really love that we're quoting Star Trek to each other on smartphones that have more memory than the computers that were used to build the graphics for the actual Enterprise. Yeah. And our smartphones are devices that were inspired by pieces of wood and paint that we used when we were doing that TV show 25 years ago. It's really wonderful. I'm really proud of Star Trek, and I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for a lot of things. Like, I have a really great life, and I'm unbelievably lucky. And every day, I'm afraid that I'm going to wake up. And it's awesome. And one of the really great things about being part of Star Trek is being part of something that really matters to people. Star Trek is more than a television show. It's more than a television show to me.
It's a philosophy.
It's exactly. I am a secular humanist because I was friends with Gene Roddenberry. And I believe in doing the best we can do because of Star Trek. If more people watched Star Trek and fewer people read Atlas Shrugged, the world would be a Star Trek really did change the world. It changed the world from a philosophical standpoint. It encouraged people to see the human inside instead of the meat bag that they're in, and it inspired people to make amazing futuristic devices because Star Trek said, "Yeah, you can do that." The only time I ever saw Gene Roddenberry get mad was when someone was arguing with him and saying that aliens built the pyramids. And Gene was like, "Aliens didn't build the pyramids, humans built the pyramids. Because when we work together, we are awesome." It was great. I think we have time for one more question, and then I have to go.
Love your book.
Thank you. I love my book too.
I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say how I really love the way you are on Big Bang, like you and Sheldon's connection.
Thanks.
And how you are on Star Trek, because I watch it every day with my family. And then I liked how you were...
How old are you?
16.
That's awesome. I love that. So your parents are probably around my age. Did they watch Next Generation when they were your age?
Oh yeah, we just got the first episode. We're watching like every night now.
That's fantastic. Star Trek gets better. The first season kind of sucks on ice, but it really does get better.
And I just wanted to say how I liked how you were cool to me because I met you in San Diego.
Yeah.
When you were taking a picture with the robot from Futurama.
From Bender!
Yeah.
Best cosplay ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you took a picture with me, and I thought that was cool.
Awesome. Nice to talk to you. All right. I want to leave you with this. Years ago, my kids are teenagers, and I was going to go have really serious sinus surgery, major sinus surgery. I was going to be knocked out for many hours, and I believe in science. I trust medicine, I trust engineering. I am a skeptic, and I put all of my faith and belief in math, and I looked at everything, and it was very likely that everything was going to be fine. But, you know, there's a non-zero chance that something could go wrong. And I wouldn't be around after the surgery. I would go to sleep, I wouldn't wake up, and I wouldn't be around to continue raising my children. So I sat my younger son, Nolan, down. He was like, you know, playing a video game. He was playing, I think he was playing Call of Duty. Which, by the way, you guys, Call of Duty was really upsetting to me because I was playing it on Xbox, and I found out that my mother has had sex with a lot of teenage boys. Like, a lot. And I was like, really? I had to find out this way? Wait, and I'm a noob fag? I don't even know what that is. I don't know how these 12-year-olds are so insightful. Anyway, I told him I might not wake up, and if I don't wake up, this is what I want you to remember about me. And this is actually, and I'm going to tell you that now, because it is what I want you to carry forward in your lives and spread this around. Some of you may have heard of this thing called Wheaton's Law, which distilled down is don't be a dick. And it's how I work real hard to live my life. But this is what I told my son Nolan. I said, this is what I want you to do with your life. I want you to be honest. I want you to be honorable. I want you to work very hard, because everything that is worth doing in your life is hard. Don't give up just because something is challenging. Always do your best. And no matter what, be awesome. Thank you very much for your time.